regrets, don't we? Decisions we've taken which we may do differently given the opportunity. Shame or regret for things we may have said or done in the past. These things can weigh on us. They can be like heavy burdens. It can feel like we're pulling around a sack of rocks. They're tied to us and we just cannot let go. But we need to find a way of letting it go. We need to find a way of giving and receiving forgiveness rather than earning it or crippling someone else with guilt. The Bible uses one word to sum this up, and that word is grace. I wonder if you've ever seen or read Victor Hugo's historical novel, film and musical, Les Miserables. Central to it is the story of a man called Jean Valjean, who is sentenced to 19 years in prison for the crime of stealing bread. While in prison, Valjean devolves into an angry and into a hardened criminal. He fights. He always wins. No one can break his will. But he's finally released and forced, like all convicts, to carry an identity card showing that he is a former convict. In a sense, he's carrying his past around with him. And because of his status, no innkeeper will allow him to pass the night. And for 4 days, he wanders the cold and inhospitable roads. That is, until a kindly bishop shows some mercy on him. The bishop invites him into an empty room where the bed is extremely comfortable. Valjean lays in bed until the bishop and his wife in the next room drift off to sleep. He then gets up, steals the couple's silverware and creeps off into the darkness. The next morning, 3 policemen knock on the bishop's door with Valjean in tow, handcuffs on his wrists. They've caught him with the stolen silver and they're prepared to throw him back into prison, this time for the rest of his life. Now the bishop responds in a way that no one, especially Valjean, had expected. This is what he said. "I'm delighted to see you. Had you forgotten I gave you the candlesticks as well? They're silver like the rest and worth several 100 francs. The bishop turned to the police. "This man is no thief. The silver was my gift to him." The police look at each other. They shake their heads and they leave. With the gendarmes gone, the bishop gives the candlesticks to Valjean, who was now completely speechless and trembling. "Do not forget," the bishop said, "never forget that you have promised me to use this money to make yourself an honest man." The power of the bishop's act, defying every human instinct, changes Jean Valjean's life forever. This is a naked counter with forgiveness, and it melts Valjean's granite soul. This is an act of grace which changed a life forever. Hugo's novel is a two-edged parable on the lessons of forgiveness. The police detective Javert, who knows no law but hard justice, stalks Valjean over 2 decades. And as Valjean is transformed by forgiveness, as he's transformed by grace, Javert is consumed by his anger and a thirst for retribution. When in a freak episode Valjean saves Javert's life, the hunted showing grace to the hunter, Javert's world crumbles. Unable to cope with forgiveness, Javert jumps off a bridge into the Seine River. The act of the bishop then was a defining moment in the life of Jean Valjean. It was a lesson that changed the entire course of his jaded life. That is the power of forgiveness. That is the freeing power of grace. On the cross, Jesus took all our mistakes and regrets on himself, on his shoulders. He exhausted it. He took away its power over us. And so because of Jesus, our past does not have to define who we are today. God can and does bring new life, new beginnings. He offers forgiveness for the past and hope for the future. Now, we may well need help from others to really experience this, but it's a hope we grow into as bit by bit we get to know Jesus in the context of his community. Could you do with a little more grace in your life right now? Could you do with some help untying that bag of regrets that you pull around with you? Is now the time to take a first step into a future which could, in truth, be so very, very different?